Hello students, welcome back to Computer Applications classes of class 9. Today we are going to start with basics of operating system. Let us have a look what are the different topics that we are going to cover in this session. First we will have an understanding of basics concept of operating system, then why this operating system is needed at all, then parts of operating system, that is shell and kernel, and then functions of operating system. Now let us see what is this operating system. We can call that it is a program which acts as an interface between user and hardware, or it controls and coordinates the use of hardware among the various application programs for the various users. It also manages information on the disk. It helps the different programs to run in the computer and also helps in booting. Booting, all of you know, that is the startup process of the computer. So again, if we can say it controls and coordinates the use of hardware. So these are the basic points that we should know among different various application programs for the various users. So why this has been again repeated, that program which acts as an, because this line is very important with respect to operating system. That program which acts as an operating system acts as an interface between a user and the hardware. Now let us see what is the role of operating system. First, program execution. That means it helps us, means the operating system helps the computer to execute various programs, to run the various programs. Then handling input-output operations. That means it helps to handle or execute different types of inputs and outputs devices properly in an appropriate manner. Then manipulation of file system. It helps to take proper decision regarding the storage of files and how a particular file should be saved. Then error detection and handling. It detects any type of error. The operating system is able to detect any type of error that occurs and then properly handles. So first it detects and then try to fix it. Then resource allocation. The word itself tells that it helps to allow proper allocation of resources available. Then accounting. It keeps an account of what different types of functioning is taking place and what type of errors have occurred. And the last one, but very important, that is provide different user interface. All of you know what is user interface. It is the way with which operating system interacts with the users. We can have two different types of user interface, the graphical user interface and the command line interface. Why this operating system is needed at all? Let's have a look. You can just say all the different functions, all the different roles can be covered in need of operating system. But then also let us repeat once again, let us see if anything, something extra or not. It recognizes and installs peripheral devices, means it helps to identify different peripheral devices like pen drive, hard disk or some SanDisk. Okay, all this. Then it helps to manage the files and folders, shares out system memory, handles system errors and alert user, manages system security, allows software to communicate with hardware, moves data to and from the hard disk, loads and run the other software applications, and the last one is handles inputs and outputs. So all these are the needs of an operating system. Why not the operating system, but needs of needs for the operating system. Why do we require that operating system to be there in our computer system? This could be the reason. The next one, we have got the parts of operating system. First, it is having the shell, and the next one is kernel. Shell is responsible for interacting with users, whereas kernel is responsible for interacting with the hardware. Over here in the figure, you can see the user space, that is the application, and then the kernel. This is the user space, kernel, and then the hardware. So kernel is in between. So you can also say kernel is the core part. Let us have an understanding of shell in a separate manner. Shell acts as an interpreter. I guess all of you remember what is interpreter, which converts the high level language to low level language. Yes, shell is also doing the same job. It acts as an interpreter. And how it does? First, it gets the commands from the user, then translates the received commands into the machine language, and then pass the translated command to the kernel to get it done. So shell is just taking the information, converting into machine language, and then whatever work or whatever the task is to be done, that is sent to kernel. Now kernel is responsible to do it or get it done. Now kernel, as I have already told, it is the core part of operating system. It also works as an interface between the user applications and the hardware. In this figure, you have seen that kernel is acting as an interface between the user and the hardware. So kernel is acting as the interface. Now we can divide the kernel in two different types. First is monolithic, another is microkernel. Monolithic kernel, if any operating system is having a single module that carries out different tasks of kernel, then it is a monolithic one. We will be studying the different types of work, what is being done by kernel in this figure in a detailed manner. And then first, before that, we should know what is microkernel. If a kernel contains separate module for the basic functions and other services done through separate software like device driver or file system, then that type of kernel is called microkernel, where they are having two different modules. Okay, now let us see what are the different types of job done by the kernel. Here in this figure over the screen, you can see kernel helps to process the management, helps to manage the file systems, then the memory management, timer management, interrupt and event handling, and then device I/O management. So whatever operating system is doing is basically done by kernel. Moving to functions of operating system. First, processor management. That means it prepares and controls or monitors the different programs, the different jobs in a proper manner. Then memory management, wherein the operating system is responsible to allocate memory to the running processes and deallocates memory from the processes whose work is already completed. Then the file management, for proper saving and storing of the files in proper location, operating system is responsible. Then the device management, it also responsible for the proper handling of output and input devices. And the last one, user interface. All of you know user interface. I'm not going to repeat it again. Just it provides different means of communication between users and their computer systems through graphical user interface or command line interface. Now, with this, we are covering our session For reference, you can go through Computer Applications book of Sumita Arora. And in the next session, we will be studying what are the different types of operating system, device drivers, file systems, and rest of the topics of this chapter. Hope the video was enjoying and fruitful. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you.